in today's episode we will be talking about this beautiful pale dot called planet Earth. So, Kinde wants to share a fact with you guys. Did you know that there's more animals than humans on Earth? And that's true because we share our planet with many species that are very beautiful around the world. So now we know that our Earth is one of the planets that are circling around the sun. It's third in line. But before, people thought that all the planets and also the sun and the moon were rotating and the Earth was flat and staying still in the middle of our solar system. So if you watched our sun video, you will know that the sun was in the center of our solar system and all the other planets orbit it. And the Earth is not flat, it's round. And also, here's a fact. The Earth, same as the moon is an egg shape, the Earth is not actually a perfect circle. It's a spheroid. That means it's somehow square shaped but also at the same time circle. So anytime you want to draw the Earth, don't really draw it too much like a circle. Let it be a spheroid. So continuing with Earth, Earth is the densest planet, being 5.25. And even denser than Jupiter, which one is really big. You know why? It's because it's made out of rock. Earth is made out of rock. But Jupiter and Saturn are the rest, and some of the rest, the big gas giants and the ice giants, they are both made out of gas and ice. So they don't really have that much weight. That is why Earth has lots of mass. And that's the reason why it's the densest. Now, so Earth is the densest. But then what is the second densest? That is Mercury. Again, another planet that is rocky. It's the fifth largest planet in our solar system. But it's the first largest when you count about the terrestrial planets. The terrestrial planets are the planets that are made out of rock and you can really stand on them, but the rest you can't. You really can't. So we're still on the terrestrial planets until Mars. So, the Earth is really huge and it's the only planet that has like continents like this. All the other planets do not. These are called tectonic plates. Here's the Eurasian tectonic plate and here's the African tectonic plate. If you want to know what tectonic plates means, tectonic plates are like puzzle pieces. The crust is floating on the mantle. The mantle is just the inner part of the Earth. So let's just explore the inner parts so that you understand what I mean about it. So there are 4 layers of the Earth: the crust, the mantle, the outer core, and the inner core. And that makes a core. So the crust is really thin. Even though you try and dig it, it's still really thin. According to everybody and also scientists, it's really thin than every other part. Now we're going to the thickest layer called the mantle. The crust is floating on top of the mantle. The mantle is on top of the outer core. So first, now let's take what is inside the crust. Decayed bones and many other things that we have to dig and astrologists want to find. And then we go deeper. That's the mantle. And you can't stand on the mantle because it's melted, it uses melted lava, and also it has iron, nickel melted into liquid. So that is to show how hot it is. So now we will be talking about the outer core. The outer core is like the mantle but doesn't have lava. It just compresses the helium and hydrogen, and also takes iron, nickel, and many other elements that are really hard like metal, and then smoosh them together and turn them into liquid. There's so much pressure that they turn into liquid. Can you imagine that pressure? That is too much. Then we go to the inner core. The inner core is as hot is even hotter than the sun's surface. Thank God that we are not near it. We are still very far on top. And the outer core is full of liquid. It has some liquid, but they get compressed because of too much pressure and they turn into solids. And the inner core is hot, very hot. So the liquids there's so much pressure that liquids turn into solids. Imagine that pressure. That is so much. That is how we got our magnetic field. Because of all the pressure makes the iron and nickel to make electricity. And the electricity comes from the core and surrounds our planet. And it's good that we have this, because or else the sun's rays, ultraviolet rays, will injure our skin and make life on Earth impossible. So we are happy that we have our magnetic field. And also without our magnetic field, we will not have our moon, because our moon is just traveling in the magnetic field. So don't also forget that we have an atmosphere. The atmosphere has its own parts, and we'll talk about it now. So the first part is called the troposphere. The troposphere has many airplanes, and it's the place that you can see the sky is blue. Understand? And that is where most clouds are. Then we go higher on top. That's the stratosphere. And that's where high-level clouds are. And also, that's where airplanes and hot air balloons fly. Now, if we go higher, that is the mesosphere. And some hot air balloons are so big that they could reach up to this area. And also, commercial airplanes can reach here too. But after this layer, they can't go higher, because it's the beginning of the stratosphere. The stratosphere is the sphere where you can find many spaceships going to surround the Earth. And that is where our magnetic field ends. And also, the International Space Station is here, surrounding Earth. After that is clear, dark space. So there's layers in our Earth and also layers above our Earth. But now, let's talk more about the people on the Earth. So here on Earth, we know there's 7 continents, right? Yes. My baby sister Bella will make a movie that will be naming all of them. Here we'll just name a few. Here's Africa, Asia, and Europe, North America, and South America. Some to mention. Many people live in these places. Here is the most populated. Here is the second biggest, and many other things happen here. So, around this is called the Ring of Fire. Many people live very, very long in the Ring of Fire, and also many volcanoes grow there and stay there. If you want, I will tell you how volcanoes and mountains are formed. So volcano and trenches. So volcanoes and mountains. So first let's start with mountains. This is how Mount Everest might have formed. Because two tectonic plates hit each other, and when they hit each other, they go up. Sometimes they go down to make trenches, sometimes they go up to make mountains. But when they are on top or near the mantle, they become volcanoes if the mountain is punctured. A volcano is when a mountain just has like an opening for lava to come out of it.
And it's called a crater.
So magma and lava are the same thing. Magma is when it's inside the volcano, and lava is when it's outside. So don't think they are two different things. They are just the same thing, but they also mean different things at the same time.
And when it cools down, it turns into molten rock or igneous rock.
And igneous rock is useful, actually. But we don't really find too much for it because it's still hot, even though it's cooling down into stone. So, next we have Antarctica. Now, people know that Antarctica is the coldest place. But if Antarctica is the coldest place, what is Antarctica actually? Antarctica is a desert, if you didn't know.
Antarctica is a desert because a desert's definition is any place on Earth that doesn't get enough rain. And Antarctica and the Sahara Desert gets more rain than Antarctica.
Sometimes in the Sahara Desert, places cannot have rain for years and years. But here, almost some days or months or even a decade, places can have rain, but they will always have snow. And now, let's tell you something. The Earth is not straight like this and spinning around. No, that is Mercury. The Earth is slightly bended.
It is tilted on its axis.
It's like from here to here.
Did you know that the axis is an invisible line that comes from the North Pole to the South Pole?
That is why it's somehow like a magnet. The Earth is like a magnet with a magnetic field.
And so is the sun.
And the moon is like some metal that is attracted to it, but not too much. So that is how, if you want to picture it really well, you can call it a magnet which has two poles, the north and the south. So here's the South Pole and here's the North Pole. So that is why we named them the North Pole and the South Pole, because our Earth is like a magnet.
Did you know by the Earth's invisible line called the axis gives us these summer, winter, spring, autumn seasons?
That is why we get seasons and the rest of the other planets do not, because their tilt is either too much or no tilt at all,
like Mercury
and like Uranus. So, our Earth is in a place called the Goldilocks zone in the solar system. The Goldilocks zone is a place where it's not too hot
and not too cold.
It's not too hot like Mercury, and it's not too cold
Like Neptune.
and it's not too near to the sun and not too far from the sun. So that is a very good thing that the earth is there. If it was near to the sun, it would be so hot that no life would grow on it. And if it was far from the sun, every life will freeze to death. So that is the reason why it's called the Goldilocks planet. Because of the movie and also the story called Goldilocks and the Three Bears. If you haven't heard about it, Google about it or read it if you have the book. And our planet is also called the Goldilocks planet because it's inside that zone. And I understand why it's called that. Because it's not too hot and not too cold.
Just
right. So now, there's a part of the earth that is called the equator. It goes from here to here. So some parts of Africa are in the equator.
Some parts of Mexico are in the equator.
So in the equator, or the tropics, people like to call it, it's really, really just the right temperature. So if you want to go on a summer vacation, go to the tropics. It's very amazing. They have amazing beaches at those places.
And almost all the days there are summer.
But up here and here, almost all the days are winter. It's because one part of the earth is facing the sun. When one part of the earth is facing the sun, it's day on that side, and when it stays for a month or some parts of a month, that becomes summer. And once a part is far away, that's night. And if it stays far away for a long time, that means it's winter if it's cold and chilly. So the sun doesn't cover all the parts of the earth, it just covers some parts. Like here. Let's say that the sun is here and it wants to cover the whole earth. In order to do that, the earth has to be flat, and that's impossible. So that is the reason why some places are colder than others. So the sun can shine light all over here but cannot reach the poles. That is why they are really cold. But sometimes they get warmed. And sometimes they do not. And now, the reason in the equator, there's lots of bulges. That's what makes the earth not really circle.
It makes it spheroid.
There's lots of bulges around the equator. And that's what makes the earth that shape. And did you know that if you were living in Canada and you were 20 kilos, when you go to Africa, you weigh less, because people who are in the equator weigh less. Some parts of Canada, like here, you can even feel like you're going on the moon, but actually you're not. You feel less weight. If you measure yourself when you're here, and then when you're here, you notice you're lower than when you were here. But you won't really feel floating like on the moon. It's because it just changed by 5%. So it doesn't mean that you feel like you're jumping on the moon. Not actually. But it's the nearest place to the moon actually on Earth.
So that place that is in Canada is called Hudson Bay. Before it had some icicles and icebergs there. But they turned into liquid water because of Mr. Sun.
And now when we go to the islands, we have noticed something about the island. When they're separated from continents, they have more diverse species. Like, let's say, like Madagascar. So from here you can find lions and many insects. But in Madagascar, you can find a frog that looks like leaf and a leaf that looks like frog. And that's just amazing. You should visit one of these islands once of a time because there's many diverse species there. Speaking of species, if you didn't know, in this part of the world, which is called Europe has more sheep than people. That's lots and lots of sheep. And that's the reason why it's kind of awkward.
It has more cities than what you call forests. Before, it had 66% of it was forest until people started cutting down trees and only 3% of Europe is now forestation.
So please try and plant
more trees if you live in Europe or other sides of the world that don't have that much forests.
The Amazon forest is burning, and that is a big problem because it's named the lungs of the world. And it really makes sense because almost all the air we breathe in and breathe out comes from that forest. So please take care of trees and don't pollute the air. We have a video about air, and it will also be talking about air pollution and how bad it is. So now, we know that you weigh less here. But the question is, where is the deepest place on Earth? That's called the Mariana Trench. It's a trench. What a trench is when and how it forms. A trench is like a dig it's like when you open your sink. Your sink has a hole, right? When you fill it up and then you open the hole, that's a trench. Water just guides down there and there's holes for it to go through. That is how that works. And how it's formed is when two tectonic plates join together or hit each other and then sink down.
Smash into each other, sink
down.
down. But sometimes these ones rise up.
And that's what makes mountains
and volcanoes.
Now, let's talk more about the landforms and less about the people here. Because the people is just a small speck, just a grain of what the earth is really. So, we have took many pictures of the earth and we have took many machines out to go around the earth and circle it to take pictures, right? People who know NASA will always know that. The International Space Station. Think International Space Station. And also debris from rockets. If you didn't know, when rockets fly up and when they are going down, they lose some parts. And sometimes they end up circling around the earth. And that one is really, really, really out of our control because we like traveling out to space, and it's a big problem that the magnetic field is somehow like magnets, so they collect iron. That's how sometimes trash can be found around our earth, circling around it like rings. So, and we all know that our earth is named the blue marble, and you can all understand that. Look, it's just all blue.
But there's some green and brown parts.
The brown parts are the deserts, or places that don't really get too much water.
So this is a desert, this is a desert, this is a desert, and this is a desert.
Even though we didn't color it, it's a desert. Because we told you the definition of a desert already, remember? So just for a recap for people who forgot that. So the definition of a desert is any place or continent that has not much rainfall. So that includes Antarctica. So that is the reason why people say Antarctica is a desert. So when they are talking about deserts, you can say Antarctica, and your teacher will understand what you are talking about, or you can just explain to her.
And now you know that deserts are just not hot places that are on countries or continents.
They are places that don't receive too much water from the sky. Sometimes, and almost all the water you're seeing here is just 71% of our whole world. That's lots of water, but all of that water is salt water.
But did you know that we have only dived and looked at 5% of our oceans?
That's even less than we know about our own moon. We know more about space than we know about our own oceans. Isn't that unbelievable? We have to explore more of our oceans. We could find more species.
In talking about oceans, there are 5 oceans, namely the Arctic Ocean, the Southern Ocean, the Indian Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, the largest of all the oceans, and finally the Atlantic Ocean.
So before all of these continents were like this, there were just one mush of a supercontinent called Pangaea. You might have heard it before. Pangaea was just like a smooshing of all the continents all together,
such as North America, Eurasia or Europe and Asia, South America, Africa and Australia,
and Antarctica. All the countries and continents just smushed together to make one giant continent called Pangaea. And then soon Pangaea separated. When it separated, it went into 2 parts,
called Eurasia and Gondwana.
Africa and Europe and Asia joined together to make Eurasia. And North America, South America, Antarctica, and also
Australia
joined together to make Gondwana. But then they separated more to make the world you see today. And now, some people call this part of the world Afro-Eurasian. And I understand why you call that, because they are connected by the Middle East. But still, there's a problem about that. It's saying I am an Afro-Eurasian. It doesn't sound natural. If you call yourself an African, you're an African. If you call yourself an Asian or European, that is yours. Don't call yourself an Afro-Eurasian. You sound weird. Understand?
And I want to tell you that the Middle East is in the middle of all 3 continents.
That is why it's called the Middle East. So now we know which is the lowest place and which is the highest place. But now, here's a question that some people ask. Is Mount Everest actually the highest place? Actually, it could be the highest place according to what we have learned. Since the earth is not round, and also that in the equator there's lots of tall things, that means that the mountains that are in that part of the world are taller than Mount Everest, even though in what we have learned, but even though still Mount Everest is the tallest. Understand?
Did you know that there's something that is bigger than Mount Everest that is located in our solar system? It is called Olympus Mons on Mars. So this is the end of our video. Please subscribe and ring the notification bell. God bless you. Bye guys, and have a happy day.
Hello guys! Today I'll just be doing a short clip to thank all the heroes out there. When you hear the word heroes, some people think about Superman, Spider-Man. No, those are the heroes in the movies. But the heroes we are talking about here is the heroes that you do not recognize as heroes. So, first, these heroes and set of people do lots of good things and contribute to the economy so much. But we do not recognize them as heroes, and that's a bad thing, even though they do so much good things. But ever since the pandemic of coronavirus, we have noticed that these people are really important now, and also for many, many, many years. And now let's just take a minute to honor them and be grateful to them. So let me mention some of their names and say thank you to them. So I thank you, policemen and policewomen. You guys are great. I love what you are doing. Thank you, firemen. You guys are the best. Thank you for making sure that our house don't burn down. Also, thank you, doctors and nurses, and also cleaners in the hospital. Thank you, doctors and nurses, for trying to cure people and giving them medications. Thank you for being the first line of the scene. Thank you for saving lives. And also the cleaners. Thank you for keeping the environment of the hospitals clean so that nobody will get it from the hospitals. Thank you. I love what you're doing. I also want to thank the delivery men. Thank you for delivering food from restaurants so that we will not have to go to them. And also, I thank you volunteers going out to help people even though you're not called. You guys are awesome. I also want to thank the teachers that are teaching us online and also in school. Thank you. We really appreciate what you're doing. And I also want to thank the school attendants. Thank you too. I also want to thank the majority of these people. I could mention all of their names. You guys are all awesome. Paramedics, thank you for being at the front line of the scene. And also pharmacists, thank you for giving us medications when we need the medicine. Also supermarket attendants, thank you. Also, I thank all of you guys for being so good. And all of you guys, and also the pharmacy, people who are working in the pharmacy. Also, thank you farmers for giving us food and also making crops. Thank you. I love what you guys are doing. Thank all of you. Also, we know that there's many people who are working behind the scenes and we do not see them. I thank all of you guys. I thank all of you guys and I love what you are doing. Thank you. Thank you for your services, all of you guys. You guys are the real heroes. You are the best. You are doing the best you can, and I love what you're doing today. Even though you're not recognized as heroes, you guys are heroes to all of us. We love you so much, and you could have chose to stay with your family, but you chose to go outside and help people. I love what you're doing. May God bless you and also your family. I cover your family and also you. Thank you for your services. We really love what you're doing. Bye.